some time ago now, I came across a tweet where the tweeter was expressing their wishes for Salamander to have chosen Mereoleona instead of Fuego Leon. As cool as it would have been to have a Spirit Dive Mereoleona transformation, and perhaps even a Saint Stage Mereoleona, and as much as it pains me to say this, Fuego Leon has not really been using Salamander to an impressive effect. I still believe that Tabata's decision to make her grow stronger by herself with ways that only Mereoleona seems to have discovered was far wiser, as it intertwines with the themes he has established during and more specifically after the Elf arc, with characters like Zora, Magna, and of course Mereoleona herself. All three characters, though vastly different, perfectly embody the limitless potential of humanity, proving that humans can surpass any limitation thought to be placed upon them, whether what they expect to be fundamental laws of nature or through humanity's own invention, which is obviously discrimination, one of the core themes of the entire story. These characters show us that the human spirit can overcome any obstacle through real understanding of magic and people. I'll not really get into Zora here too much because I already made a full character analysis for him, which you can watch through the link in the description. So let's focus on two of the absolutely polarizing characters on each side of the totem pole. Characters who, beyond their magic element, don't seem to have any similarities at all, at least on the surface. The Untamed Lioness, Mereoleona Vermilion. Mereoleona stands as a testament to humanity's ability to reach heights that even supernatural beings like devils thought impossible of humans to do. From the moment we meet her, she demonstrates that humans aren't bound by the limitations others place upon them. What makes her character truly remarkable, though, is her complete rejection of the notion that humans are inferior to these other races because of the fundamental bounds put upon them with regards to being able to achieve a oneness with mana. In a world where devils and elves look down on humans as lesser beings, elves for a very pragmatic, real practical reason that is done unto them, she proves them wrong through pure human determination and an unshakable belief in pushing beyond perceived limitations. Her training methodology itself kind of speaks volumes about her philosophy, where she's, rather than relying on traditional magical training, she seeks out harsh environments. The ultimate volcano Grand Magic Zone, for example, becoming her training ground, a place so hostile that merely surviving there is considered a feat. But for Mereoleona, mere survival was not enough. She turned this deadly environment into her path to transcendence, and we even see her in a similar volcano towards the beginning of the Spade arc, which might or might not be Ultim, where she is literally bathing in magma. I mean, come on, look at the level of skill you need with Mana Skin, the concentration that requires to be able to even achieve that. Right, so this kind of approach to her training reveals a fundamental truth about her character itself. She believes that humans could have to constantly push against their limits to evolve, which is a repeating theme throughout the entire story. It's not just about having the most mana or specifically the most prestigious position, because that is something that she really could not give a crap about. It's about how far you're willing to push yourself beyond what others think possible, right? Beyond what you yourself think is possible. So her journey to becoming one with mana that we see towards the end of the series itself is perhaps the most profound example of human potential in the entire series, right? So while others rely on grimoires and structured magic systems, Mereoleona developed her own path, right? The grimoires show you a lot of the spells, right? There are other people who think about complex ways to use the spells, but Mereoleona developed something completely unique to herself, right? Through rigorous training in extreme environments and pushing herself beyond her normal limits, she achieved what many thought impossible: a state of perfect harmony with actual natural mana, something that is only replicated by Licht earlier in the series, who is a really, really powerful elf, right? So the significance of Mereoleona's achievement in the series, it literally cannot be overstated, because in the universe, in the Black Clover universe, elves are, they're, naturally attuned to mana, right? And devils, they possess overwhelming magic power inherently, and they have a more fundamental understanding of mana because they fight with mana in its rawest form. Whereas humans have refined it to a level that is alien to even the elves, as we'll see with Zora's scene later on in the video. Both races, elves and devils, both operate under the belief that humans are inherently inferior. Again, like I said, devils, because they're evil, because that's literally malice is what they are. And elves, of course, it's because of the incident that has happened earlier. Mereoleona, she kind of shatters these preconceptions, not by mimicking their powers, but by forging her own path. Because even if you think about the last person who, was stated to be one with mana, who seems to have melted into the mana licht, he was not doing it the same way that Merio was doing it, because her body literally transforms into mana, and she still is able to hold on to the physical state of it, at least so far as we've seen, right? Her Hellfire incarnate form represents the literal peak of what she can achieve, right? And I'm talking about the version that we see in the fight against Morris, right? We see slow steps for this, starting off when fighting against the demon, where she wants to burn away everything. You see her one-mindedness that is just purely focused on burning everything away, and then you see her going further and further when she's fighting against Lucifero, and against Morris, she finally unlocks the true nature of Hellfire incarnate, right? A state where, as a human, she transcends her physical limitation through nothing but her own effort, right? Mainly, and her understanding of natural mana and, of course, people, which comes into play during that particular fight. This is not a borrowed power, it's not a magical transformation, it's a result of a human pushing themselves to understand and connect with the fundamental forces of the world, right? This is not, a simple saint stage. Well, I don't want to call it simple, but you know what I mean, right? There's a spirit, and then you understand that spirit understands you, and then, a couple other conditions, and then you have saint stage, right? And similar to, Asta, there's Devil Union going on, there's Black Asta, whatever. These are, I would just call them transformations, magical transformations. But with Merio, it's a lot more fundamentally connected to mana than whatever we've seen thus far, right? It is a complete fundamental understanding of the forces of the world. The contrast between Mereoleona and Paladin Morris during their battle is the perfect illustration of two opposing paths to transcending human limitations as well, right? So Morris seeks to break through humanity's barriers through unnatural methods. He places his faith in Lucius, whom he worships as God, and earlier in the series, he obtains the power of a devil possessed, and he tries to become beyond human. He tries to go beyond humanity, and he is able to a certain level, right, by doing that. But that's not really what Tabata says is kind of the ultimate way of transcending your humanity, right? His approach, Tabata feels, and is trying to communicate to us, is fundamentally flawed because it relies on external power and blind devotion rather than true understanding, right? It's this completely opposing concept of how you achieve transcendence. Mereoleona, on the other hand, she achieves her transcendence through a deeper understanding of both mana and humanity itself. Her path is literally illuminated by the sacrifices and trust of her comrades, the Crimson Lions, who would willingly give their lives for her, right? These bonds of trust and sacrifice, where she sees that they're willing to go in and get burned and get dismantled, disintegrated, just for Mereoleona to land a few punches, tell her something that she's able to use to grasp something that Morris never could. The true essence of humanity's potential lies not in rejecting our nature, but in understanding and accepting it completely, right? She understands what humanity is in its truest essence. This fundamental difference in their approaches reveals why Mereoleona's path is superior, right? While Morris's understanding of humanity is warped by his desire to escape it, Mereoleona's is holistic, embracing both the limitations and the unlimited potential of human nature. Her achievement of becoming one with nature, or natural mana, I guess, isn't just a personal triumph, it's a validation of her belief that humanity can reach its potential through its own strength and understanding right? In this case, where Morris is relying purely on external forces, Marileona is relying on the connections that she made to her people, right, in order to be able to understand the true nature of Mana. The battles where she demonstrates this power are not just a display of strength, right? They're statements about humanity's potential. When she fights against ancient demons, devils, and even corrupted humans like Morris, she's not just fighting for victory, she's proving that humans can reach heights that other races thought impossible. Hell, heights that even humans thought impossible. Her ability to stand toe-to-toe with beings of immense magical power shows that human potential isn't just about where you start and who you are, but it is, and what you are, right? Of course, human. It's a lot more about how far you're willing to go. What levels are you willing to push yourself to, right? And next up, we'll be talking about Magna, where that last sentence I said is going to be coming in play in a huge way, where it is a much more personal struggle, much more character focused rather than concept focused, which I kind of like it a little bit better than what Tabata tries to do with Marileona, which again I already love clearly, which is why I'm making this video, as you can see. But yeah, so let's get into Magna's side of it. While Marileona represents humanity's potential for raw power and transcendence, Magna's swing shows us a different but equally important aspect of human potential: the power of intelligence, determination, and innovation in the face of systemic discrimination. Magna's story hits particularly hard because it starts with repeated humiliation and setbacks. As a peasant with minimal magic power, he faces constant reminders of his limitations. The Heart Kingdom training selection becomes a pivotal moment in his journey, but not in the way one might expect. Being left out of that special training that would make others strong could have broken his spirit, but instead it became the catalyst for his most significant evolution. What makes this moment so powerful is how Magna handles this rejection. Instead of letting bitterness consume him or giving up, he does something truly remarkable. He swallows his pride and seeks out Zora Ideale for his guidance. This is particularly monumental for Magna's character because Magna really represents what you would think of as masculinity, right? Masculine traits. He's always going on and on about what makes like a man be a man, and things of that nature. So to see somebody who you would assume would be full of pride, who also has a rival in luck and is not able to meet the expectations set upon him by his own rival, he is completely broken. But instead of simply doubling down and like becoming worse individually and emotionally, he swallows that pride, like I said, and he actually seeks out guidance. This decision shows incredible emotional maturity from somebody like Magna, that shows you the growth that he's gone through, because I definitely do not see chapter 1 Magna doing this, right? And it demonstrates, obviously one of humanity's greatest strengths, the ability to learn and grow from setbacks, right? This is another theme that Tabata always tries to hammer in, right? And in this, Zora plays a big part for what's to come for Magna's future. Zora, who, becomes Magna's mentor, had previously delivered a powerful message, right, in the Elf arc, where he says to the elves, about humanity's unique capability to evolve magic itself. He spoke about how humans, despite their limitations, consistently find new ways to use and develop magic. This philosophy becomes the foundation of Magna's transformation. Under Zora's guidance, Magna embodies this very principle, taking magic in a direction that no one had thought possible until that point. The creation of his Soul Chain Deathmatch spell is a masterpiece of human ingenuity and determination. Let's break down why this spell is so revolutionary. First, it required months of intensive study and practice. Now, as we all know, Magna is the polar opposite of what you would consider a studious person, so it by itself is an implication that he went against every like everything that he would typically want to do when trying to get stronger, right? We even see him trying to get stronger earlier, and there's hint of him having to use his head throughout, but it is through just actively throwing his fireballs and everything like that. Even in the anime filler scenes with Vanessa, that is how Magna determines to get stronger, right? And the part of him using his head that I was talking about is the change in the nature of his spell, where he makes these fireball disappear and reappear, right? These are interesting techniques to catch his opponents off guard, but these are not like immediately enhancing his own strength, right? So Magna essentially spent 6 months doing nothing but studying runes and making calculations and pushing his mind to its limits. This was not about raw power or natural talent, obviously. It was about dedication, intelligence, and the willingness to work harder than he had ever done before, right? And the second part of it is that the spell itself is a perfect representation of humanity's innovative spirit. By equalizing magical power between himself and his opponent, Magna now creates a situation where victory would be determined by physical skill, strategy, and willpower rather than inherited or gifted power. This is humanity at its most clever, finding ways to turn apparent disadvantages into advantages, right? And this spell itself is beyond just being humanity's representation of innovative spirit. It is a perfect encapsulation of the proper theme of fighting against discrimination, right? This spell is the ultimate equalizer right behind anti-magic. So let's take a look at the practical example of where the spell was used and try to analyze how exactly this communicates the theme that I'm trying to talk about. The fight against Dante Zogratis, it becomes more than just a battle. It's a powerful statement about equality and merit. Dante looks down on others from a position of power, and he is forced to fight on equal terms with someone he considered beneath him, someone he considered so completely below his level of notice that when Magna hits him once, he so dismisses it. He even gives him a free shot. That is how beneath him he considers somebody like Magna a peasant. Dante is the perfect embodiment of the what royalty is supposed to be for humans in Black Clover. He's so bored of the world, and even though he was not born into royalty, it is the mindset that leads to discrimination coming from him, right? The symbolic significance of a peasant like Magna forcing a devil-possessed noble, or in this case a noble who became a royal, to fight on an equal playing field cannot be overstated. It is a direct challenge to the hierarchical system that defines the Black Clover world, going even beyond the Clover Kingdom, right? Because we see the discrimination happening even in the Spade Kingdom, where those with magic take advantage of those without to even power their Candelo, as we saw in the beginning of the Spade arc. This battle perfectly encapsulates one of Black Clover's core themes, like I said, the battle against discrimination and predetermined worth. Magna doesn't just fight Dante, he forces him to acknowledge him as his equal. The Soul Chain Deathmatch spell becomes a great equalizer, stripping away the advantages of birth and status, leaving only skill and determination to determine the outcome. Basically, he puts Dante in the ring and says, "Throw up your hands, bro. Let's get to it," right? Moreover, this spell represents what Zora talked about, humanity's unique way of evolving magic. Traditional magic users focus on increasing their power. Even Mereoleona did just that, right? It was purely increasing her power until she had to understand the nature of humanity to evolve. But Magna, from inception for this particular spell, creates something entirely new. He doesn't try to match Dante's power. He doesn't try to, get power through various different means. He finds a way to make power itself irrelevant. It does not matter how much power you have, what power you have. This innovation exemplifies how humans in Black Clover continue to push the boundaries of what magic can do. Together, Mereoleona and Magna represent two sides of the same coin, the unlimited potential of humanity. Mereoleona shows us that humans can reach the highest heights through raw determination and effort, while Magna demonstrates that innovation and strategic thinking can overcome any disadvantage. What makes both characters' achievements so meaningful is that they're purely human accomplishments. They represent different paths through which humans can overcome their limitations. Marioliona, fucking hell, why can't I ever pronounce her name right beyond the first time? Okay, let's try this again. Marioliona, there you go, chose the path of transcendence, pushing the human body and spirit to their absolute limits and beyond, achieving a state of being that even other races thought impossible. Magna chose the path of innovation, using human intelligence and creativity. Magna chose the path of innovation and human intelligence and creativity to level an uneven playing field, creating magic that challenges the very foundations of their society's power structure. Their stories teach us that human potential isn't about having the most power or the best circumstances. It's about how we use what we have and our determination to push beyond our perceived limitations. Marioliona proves this by achieving perfect harmony with Mana through sheer force of will and understanding of human nature and fundamental workings of Mana, while Magna demonstrates it by creating a spell that forces even the most powerful opponents to fight on equal terms, whilst also understanding Mana by creating runes that alter the nature of said Mana. These characters embody different aspects of humanity's strength in the face of overwhelming odds. Marioliona shows us that humans can transcend their natural limitations through determination and effort, while Magna proves that humanity's ability to innovate and adapt can overcome any gap in natural ability. In the end, both characters prove that true strength of humanity lies not in matching others' powers, but in finding our own unique ways to excel. Whether through Marioliona's raw power and determination, or Magna's creativity and tactical thinking, they show us that humanity's greatest strength is They show us that humanity's greatest. Why am I writing words like this? I should. Okay. No more scripts in the future. Jesus. Okay. They show us that humanity's greatest strength is its adaptability and unwavering spirit. Okay, there you go.